All right, guys, welcome to episode number 21 of the Limitless Mindset Podcast. Thanks so much for listening in today. I hope to drop a little bit of value for you guys. And I've had this one on my mind, honestly, all week. So hopefully this is helpful for a few of you guys. Today's episode, I wanted to talk about making sure that you guys are identifying and choosing the right target clientele and customer for your guys' business. This is something we have been really going heavy on, honestly, in the last year and a half with my agents and the people that I work with and the people that I'm coaching. I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make when they first get into business, and I'll take that back. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a mistake because I understand when you first get in, right? You don't really know what you're doing. You don't know what your ideal customer looks like, almost what your ideal client looks like. You're just so eager to get out there and get a deal. Or get that deal closed, or work with that first client, or something like that. So I do understand, but I want to make the point today that it is so important to make sure that you guys are identifying who your right client is, who your right customer is for you to serve. That's going to best see and realize what your true value proposition is to them. We come across this a lot in real estate, and I'll share the story with me. And something for, when I first got into the business and some of the lessons I've had to learn the hard way about basically making sure that I'm working with the right people, understanding who my ideal clientele is, who I work with. So let me give you guys a little bit of background about me in the way that I think. I am naturally a numbers person. I fully will tell you I hate math. I'm not a fan of it. In high school and whatnot, I really hated math. However, when it comes to numbers and finding deals, calculating percentages, ARVs, ROI, basically return on your investments. That's probably my jam. Like, I absolutely love it. I go all in on that. I'm a numbers guy. In the real estate industry, in the real estate space, I've built my brand and I've built my name around just basically being very savvy with numbers, being able to spot deals, see what deals make sense, see what's going to be a good investment, and making my clients a lot of friggin' money over the years because I've gotten really good at identifying, where hidden gems are, right? Where money's to be found, what's going to be a good purchase, what's going to be a good investment, what's going to have the highest cash flow, what's going to have the highest appreciation. I don't get emotionally attached to deals, which I think has actually served me extremely well in this business. In the real estate business, you're dealing with people's homes that, to be honest with you, it's a majority of where a lot of people's net worth is tied up right now, right? Most people, their homes are their largest asset that they would have right now, that they have their money tied up in. It's where they live. It's where they raise their families. For a lot of people, it's a point of pride. They make memories in these homes. Some of them they've had in their families for years. It's been passed down. And so they have a lot of pride. There's a lot of emotional attachment tied to real estate for a lot of people, for a lot of various different reasons, and 100% completely understand why it is that way. When I got into real estate, and this probably goes back to the nature of me, flipping things pretty much my entire life. I've always been flipping things, whether that's on Amazon, eBay. I've been flipping cars. I've been finding deals. I always purchase things with the intent of having an exit plan if I need to sell and get out from underneath that and get some money. It's just the way I think. It's the way every time I go to buy something, like I said, whether that's a vehicle, whether that's a firearm or a house or whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is. When I go to buy most things, I'm looking for the deals. I'm looking for the things that I can get at a great value. I'm looking for something that's going to appreciate. I'm looking for something that's going to be a great investment. That mindset carried me extremely well into real estate, and I started doing really good at it because what I found was my value proposition to people is taking the emotions out of the transaction for people and really breaking it down and saying, does this make sense? I understand, because here's the thing. When emotions get involved in a real estate transaction, that's where mistakes can be made in some cases, right? That's where some people make bad investments. That's where some people get too emotionally attached to a deal and they basically can end up overspending. They can purchase a property property for more than they should have paid for it without understanding what that's going to do. Is it going to appreciate? Is it going to depreciate? Is it going to make a great cash flow? They get so emotionally attached to these transactions that's where I step in, and I could usually talk some sense into them. I can say, hey, I understand why you're thinking this way. I understand why you got this attachment to the home. We see this a ton, by the way, with listings. When I decided to go real heavy on becoming a listing agent about year number 2 or 3, what I realized was what made me really good at it was my ability to talk some sense into people when it came to listing their home. A lot of people had extreme pride, extreme ownership. A lot of people think that their homes are worth more than what they really are. It's just, it is what it is, right? Everybody thinks that their house is worth, the most money ever, which is completely understandable. But when I go into my listing appointments, it always throws people off because I walk in with 2 pieces of paper in my back pocket. You guys have probably seen it. Those that know me have ever watched me go into a listing appointment. The agents here on my team, the agents in our brokerage that tag along with me for trainings that go into listing appointments. I take 2 pieces of paper with me. I take the tax records with me, and I take similar comps and comparables to the property. Those 2 sheets of paper have all the data that I need to properly list a home because it's hard facts, it's hard figures, it's hard numbers, right? I don't walk into listing appointments with these fancy presentations, which, by the way, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's going to tie into my point today. But for me, I'm just explaining to you guys my value proposition, how I look at things, how I approach things, and how I've come to identify who my ideal client is and how I can help those people. So back to on point, when I go into these listing appointments, I have 2 pieces of paper, the tax records that show me the hard numbers on the property, the square footage, the lot square footage, and then I bring a list of comparables with me too. These are the other similar sales in a property that have sold. They give me a solid baseline for potential listing price. Now, there's a lot of different variables that go into it. That's probably going to be for another episode when I break down how I look at deals, but there's a lot of that gives me a solid baseline of, okay, these are where the comparable sales fall, and this is what it is. Now, where I have to bridge that gap is where those numbers are versus where the seller is or where the client is, or even a buyer per se, right? We got buyers on the other side of this too, that it's the same thing. They don't want to overpay for a house. They don't see the value in it. They don't understand it. Maybe it's priced on the higher end where comps are 10 to 20K down, but I basically can do the math. I look at, market appreciation, where it's going, and I can show them, hey, yeah, you're going to pay that for this house right now, but understand at the rate that the market is improving within 3 to 4 months, you do the math, you break it down, it will be worth that. So are you paying a little more on the front end? Yes, you stay here for 2 years, a projected increase. This is what you can yield as a return on this property. That's my value proposition. I have gotten extremely good at that and just completely removing the emotion out of the transaction. With that being said, I'm not your guy if you go into a new build and you're like, show up with me to the design center, help me pick and choose every fancy little thing. I'm going to walk in there and I'm going to tell you, here's what I think you should spend money on. This is going to get you a higher ROI by just putting this money in right now rather than going cheap in this section, having to demo it because it's actually going to cost you more money. I'm really good, again, at these things, right? If you want me to go into a sale with you, if you want me to go into a listing with you and agree with you, and you tell me where to set my price, we're probably not going to be a good fit. I'm always open to listening to my clients, my customers, because I want to understand where their mind is. I understand that when I'm in this business, I do this daily. Every day, my entire day is spent looking at numbers, running comparable sales, running properties, looking at market appreciation, looking at inventory. I mean, my day is immersed in real estate. This is all I do for a living full time. I mean, I've probably sat at over a couple thousand tables with people and families and discussing numbers and solving problems. I mean, this is what I do. I consider myself an expert at it now. So it would be unrealistic for me to assume that everybody out there, a traditional family that sells a home, fully understands the real estate market. Now, there are some that think they do. They watch Zillow, they pay attention, I'll go in there and they're very adamant this is what things are worth. And, I'm not doing them a service or a justice by just agreeing with them, telling them what they want to hear to end up trying to get a sale. It's going to make them unhappy when I can't perform on what they think they're going to be getting. It's going to make me unhappy because now, as an industry expert that walks in and I show them the hard facts and the data and they're disagreeing with me, I'm going to be frustrated because I'm not going to accurately be able to do my job and get them the results that I think that they're going to get. And it leads to a bunch of frustration. When I got into the business, though, I didn't have that mindset. My mindset was like everybody else is I just got to get a sale. I got to get a deal. You're almost a yes man in some ways. You're afraid to say no to people. You're afraid to tell them something that they don't want to hear, and you're going to lose that. And it will make your guys' life a hell. I think that can go for any business, to be honest with you. You know, whether you're in construction, whether you do pavers, whether you do house painting, whether you do insurance, it doesn't matter what it is. We've all had those customers, those clients that have just been extremely difficult. They think that they know your job better than you. And it almost, you know, when they do that to me now, when I go into an appointment and they call me in and, you know, I'm there to, you know, add my value. I'm there to show them the facts. I'm there to show them the numbers. I'm there to show them the process. I'm there to show them everything that I can do. And they're telling me how to do my job and how to do it better. I simply will tell them I don't think this is going to be a good fit simply because I'm not going to be able to deliver on what you guys are expecting from me, because that's not how I do it. And you guys aren't also going to be able to deliver what I need from a client on my end to accurately do my job. So I have no problem these days being very upfront and honest with that. You know, I consider myself, again, an industry expert. If you are calling me, it's because you want the results that I bring. You're calling me because of my knowledge. You're calling me because of my expertise. You're calling me in to solve a problem for me or for you. You know, that's what you're calling me in for, is because you want experience. You want somebody that's done this hundreds of times, right? Sold hundreds of homes. You want that experience behind you. You want my knowledge. That's why I'm there. I walk in there and you're basically there for me to just put your house on the MLS. I'm not your guy. There's hundreds of other agents out there. Actually, I take that back. There's thousands of other agents out there that will just listen to what you want to say and do it your way. So I had to learn that the hard way. You know, I've had deals where I've taken on clients that I probably shouldn't have taken on. I listed houses where they told me they had to be, and that's okay. You know, even today I still list some houses, you know, based on their projected, you know, what they want to list it at. I'll have conversations with them. Here's what the data is. Here's what the numbers show. I will agree that if you want to list it there, we can do it. It's against my recommendation, but ultimately it's your house. Let's do that. If I have the agreement with you that if we're not seeing the results that you expected to see within the time frame you're expected to see, we're allowed to do it my way and bring it back down. As long as we have that agreement and that mutual understanding, I'm good and I'll work with those people, right? This is where, again, just years of experience have come in and you've crossed many paths with people like that. So, you know, as I have started my team and as it's grown, and especially now that we've started a brokerage, you know, we are now touching 48 agents. I help a lot of newer agents. They come across a lot of people, and I have been seeing, especially in a very challenging market right now, in a market that is extremely limited supply, very few houses out there, emotions are high, sellers, you know, are trying to get absolute unrealistic top dollar in some cases for their houses. You got buyers that understand it's way overpriced, but they have to, you know, there's a lot of emotion involved in the market right now, which is, for me, good. Because again, I remove myself out of emotion. I 100% think with logic in these transactions. I don't get emotionally charged in them. I'm able to see, you know, when I got frustrated sellers and frustrated buyers, I'm able to stand back and look at things from a bird's eye view. Okay, why are they feeling this way? Okay, I understand it. Let's go back to the data. Let's look at the numbers. And it handles things very well for me. Again, it's always served me. It's been my value proposition. People come to me, you know, full disclosure, I get a ton of divorce situations where emotions are high in those. And a lot of people hire me for that situation because they know I'm pretty level-headed. I stay in the middle of it. You know, I don't take sides in those situations. I always point out, here's what to expect. Here's how this transaction's going to go. Here's how similar transactions go in these unfortunate situations. Again, it's just about maintaining that professionalism, not allowing your emotions to guide you in these transactions, and ultimately keep it fair for all parties so it's a win-win and things go as projected and things go planned. Again, this is how I built my business, guys, by having this mindset with things. I'm not afraid to tell people no if I know it's not going to work and it's not going to be a good partnership. At the end of the day, it's just going to lead to frustration. I had a client one time that called me that wanted to way overprice their house. This was probably about my first year in the business. And, you know, to be honest with you, it was my fault. I didn't tell them no. I knew the data didn't say otherwise, but I just didn't have it in me to say no or lose a potential deal. And so we way overpriced this house back at that time. And, you know, what do you know? The house didn't sell. It was sitting on the market. They were becoming extremely frustrated with that transaction. You know, it wasn't moving. Even though we knew it was overpriced. I should have had that conversation with them. All the way through the entire transaction, they were extremely frustrated. About a month and a half, 2 months in, we get an offer in that honestly was an extremely fair offer. Even that offer was above what true market value was. All cash. They were taking the property as is. They were moving into town to be closer to their daughter and granddaughter on the property. And my seller was frustrated. Even though this offer came in and it was, again, well above market value, it wasn't the number that they initially had wanted, which was probably close to $80,000 over. I think this offer had come in about $20,000 over market, which was still a great offer, all cash. The entire transaction, they're frustrated. They're thinking that the new buyer is just ripping them off, and I'm in my head, I'm like, gosh, this is actually extremely fair. These guys have been so reasonable. They got a home inspection. They didn't ask for a single repair. They told the sellers they'd work with them on closing dates. I mean, this was the ideal buyer that you'd want to see on a transaction for a seller. And they were so pissed off at this transaction because they didn't get the quote unquote dollar that they thought they had deserved on it. And I take accountability for that because I didn't set the proper expectations. I was too afraid to say no. I was too afraid to just basically put my foot down and potentially lose that transaction. And I suffered the consequences for that. That transaction went so rough. They were so frustrated all the way to the very end. They just made the transaction miserable for everybody because they were so convinced that they were getting a bad deal on this because they thought they were the industry experts. So that transaction stuck with me. I don't know why it did, but it bothered me and it really changed the course of my career. And it's funny how that happens. It's always like those one or two deals where you're like, man, that was so miserable. What lessons did I learn from that? And that lesson taught me right there that not every client is a good client, right? And that's okay. There are people that probably would have handled that situation better than me. There's people that probably can handle a higher level of threshold, or maybe they're more emotionally charged that would have probably identified a little better with that person. But this day and age, I have learned throughout my business now to just be upfront, be honest, let the data stick for itself, take the emotion out of it, and that is my ideal client now. Those are the people I work with. The majority of my clients are going to be your middle-class family for the most part, buying and selling. They're looking to sell, they're looking to market, they're looking to make the transition into a new home, double escrows, double closing. How can we take the equity from this, roll it into a new house? Is this a good deal? A lot of moving numbers around. It's not as easy as just, hey, this is my first house, I'm buying it. But that was my first clientele when I was a little bit younger. Most of my sphere of influence was a younger influence. I was helping a lot of first-time home buyers. And again, that served me well because I took the emotion out of it. I had to make the point of, listen, guys, I know this is your first house. I know you want it to be perfect. It's got to be everything you want, but please understand this is probably your stepping stone into real estate. You're not going to buy this house and be here for the next 40 years. This is your gateway into getting into the real estate of home ownership, basically locking in some equity, staying there for a couple years, improving on the property, building up your home equity in the property, the value of the property, selling it, making a profit, and then rolling that equity into another property and potentially an investment property. This is where I found my sweet spot. That is basically my ideal client. That's who I help. I'm the numbers guy. I'm the guy that shows you, are you making a smart financial decision? And I'm going to remove the illogic and the emotion out of it. I have people that work with me that are way better at that. They're way more patient than I am. They're extremely detailed, thought out, write everything down to the T. Because that's their personality, right? Where I'm the opposite. My personality is just give me the meat and potatoes of it. I don't want all the details, the way I operate and the way I do business. And then this goes on the opposite from me being a customer to my people. So for example, like with my accountant, with, guys that I do business with, some of my other vendors, I don't need all the tiny, minute details. That's why I hire you. I want you to handle those things for me. I just need the straight facts, right? This is where it is. Tell me the details. What can I expect? What's my ROI going to be on this? And let's move on. I'm all about saving as much time as possible, where some people need more handholding. That's why we all, for those of you guys that are in a customer service and a sales environment, I could probably recommend you to go take the DISC profile to really understand where you are, what your personality type is, who you operate well with, and that's probably going to be who your ideal client is, how your personality is, how you work with people. You're going to show up the best for other people that have a similar mindset than you do. What's going to take you to another level is your ability to be flexible and work with various different personalities. In leadership, I do this all the time. I have people that have extreme opposite different personalities that I do, that I have to learn. I have to really get out of my comfort zone and understand how they want to be communicated to. They, communicate to me very differently. They, sometimes when they're trying to explain things to me, it's this whole 10-page memo, and I'm like, whoa, stop. Just give me the details. Like, let's get to the point. Like this 10-minute conversation, give me the 30-minute Cliff Note version, because that's who I am. That's the guy that I am. And it frustrates people sometimes because, again, I got clients that need all the details. They need all the hand-holding. So, again, this really just ties back to understand who your ideal client is. Don't go after everybody. I mean, that's the genius thing about business. If you guys look at some of the top marketers, the people that absolutely kill it, they identify who their customer is, who their client is. They don't need to get everybody. It's the same thing when you guys are handling in professional services. Again, whether maybe you're an accountant, whether you're in real estate, whether you're in some kind of contracting business, you're a home builder, maybe you do construction, you do window cleaning. There's so many different things you can do, but this needs to be applied to it, is really understanding who your ideal client is, who your customer is, who you would want sitting across from you at a dinner table, and who you can truly help and add value to. And please understand, it's not going to be everyone. You guys got to stop trying to please everyone. You guys need to stop trying to water down your marketing to basically get to everybody. There are people out there that are going to relate very well to you. They're going to love the way that you do business. They're going to want you for who you are. Your communication style, who you are, the way you think is going to add tremendous value to those people. Those are the people that you guys need to go out and you guys need to find that ideal client, that ideal customer. When you guys work with the wrong clients and the wrong customers, it's going to make your guys' business extremely hard. I have a few agents in these last couple of weeks that have been working with some very challenging personalities. And it's funny because I went to these appointments with all of these agents, and I kind of know their personalities, right? I know my people. I know what their thresholds are, especially the people on my team. They've been with me for 2, 3, 4 years, so I know them very well. We're close people. I know, what stresses them out. I know what works well for them. Same way I know me. I pay attention to these things, so I'll go with them to these appointments. I'll coach them. I'll guide them on it. I'll give them feedback. Constant. It's always a work in progress. Even some of my top tier agents that have been doing this 3, 4 years with me, I still go with them to some appointments and critique them and give them feedback on things that they can improve on. And I walk out of a couple of these appointments and I'm like, that's not your customer. That customer is going to be difficult for you because the way your personality type is and what they need. And against, what I said, they took the customers on, and it's been a very challenging month or 2 months for them right now. And, the cool thing about this is there's always lessons to be learned in everything. This is the conversation I had with them. They'll call me and they're just frustrated to heck. They're like, man, like I'm so angry at this, or this isn't going the way I thought it would, or, they're just not understanding. And, I'm trying to explain things to them about why, they need to do this in the transaction, and this is the benefit, and they're just being very combative with me. And I said, well, how did that first appointment go? Let's go back to day one when I was with you, when we first met with those. Let's replay that in our minds. How did that go? And it always ties back. And then I say, what, when we walked out of that and you and I debriefed, we had that conversation. What did you do? How did it go? What were your thoughts? I said, what did I tell you? And they're like, you were right. They just weren't a good fit. And I'm like, okay, now you're paying the price for that for the next 4 to 6 weeks, because you just didn't set the proper expectations. You didn't just lay out, here's what it's going to be. Here's how I operate. Here's how I'm going to be of benefit to you. You were just really focused on taking any sale at that point, and it makes it challenging for you, And so it's one of those things, we look at it from a learning opportunity. You always take the bad customers. And by the way, I want to make it a point too to say that not every customer, it's their fault. You need to learn to take some accountability in this, because there are definitely things that if you guys have an upset customer or a client out there, that you probably could have done a better job with, myself included. I always recap. I'm like, man, if I ever have an upset client, luckily these days I don't get a lot of them, because I've learned to identify who I should be working with, who my ideal client is. I've gotten better at my communication skills. I've gotten better at my being able to adapt to different personalities. I ask a ton of questions in my initial appointments just to kind of pre-screen them and get an idea of how they want to be communicated to, what their expectations are. It all just comes with practice. But I remember, again, when we go back to that very first challenging client I had, I look back and say, man, where did I drop the ball on this? Where did I not set the proper expectations? Where did I bend on something that I probably shouldn't have bent on? And then now it's coming back and biting me. These are the conversations you guys need to be having in your head, and it's going to help you shape who your ideal client and customer is going to be. Please understand it's okay to say no. You guys don't have to say yes to every client. You guys don't have to say yes to every customer. I understand when you're brand new in business, you want to get it all. You want to get it up and rolling. That's okay. You're going to take your licks. That's how you're going to learn in this business. But please understand, guys, you don't have to say yes to everybody. Not everybody out there is going to be your ideal client. It's okay to say no if you genuinely can't help somebody or if it's just not going to be a good fit. I do it all the time when it comes to coaching. I get a whole ton of people to reach out to me. Hey, I'd love for you to coach me. Please help me. I want to scale up in real estate, business, other aspects of life. I really would love some help. And I have interviews with them. I don't just take anybody on underneath me, because at the end of the day, I'm only going to be able to help you if you can relate to me and you're willing to listen to me, and my coaching and my learning style is going to resonate with you enough to where you want to take action on the things that I'm saying. If our learning styles aren't the same, if my coaching aspect's not the same, if I can't communicate to you the way that you want to say, you're not going to get the most out of it. And so that's why again, you have to understand it's okay to turn money away. It's okay to turn deals away if the client or the customer is not right for you as well. You guys need to understand this. This is your guys' value proposition in business, is really understanding who you are, the value that you bring, the things that you're confident in, laying that all out on the table and making sure you guys have a mutual understanding from your customers. In a way, you almost want to have expectations for your customers too. When you go in, okay, if I'm going to take this person on as a customer, they're going to need to be willing to listen to me. They're going to need to be willing to take my advice. They're going to need to be willing to trust me, right? They called you in for a reason. Why am I here? What's making you call me, right? Get that out of them. Ask those questions. Why am I here? What do you see in me that's catching your interest right now? And then lean heavy on that. Well, you're here because we think you're one of the best in the business. I've seen you around. I've watched what you've done. I've seen some of the results you've gotten for some of your other customers and clients. I trust you. Okay, great. Thank you for having me in. Thank you for that feedback. I'm appreciative of the opportunity. I'm glad to be here, by the way. Here's all the things that I think after meeting with you that I can do. With that being said, here's how it's going to go, right? Here's what you can expect when you work with me. Here's how the process is going to go. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's how I operate. Here's the benefit to you in what I do. Here's what I'm going to need for you guys too. I'm going to need you guys to do this, A, B, C, D. Do we have an agreement on that? Does that sound like it's going to be a good partnership for you guys? And that's how I build my relationships with my clients. It's a partnership. It's not a one way. It's not a, I need you to hire me or you need me to hire you. I've got options when it comes to customers and clients. You've got options on who you guys want to use as a professional, especially in my business. I got 88,000 other people I'm out there competing with at any given time. People got options, and that's okay. The understanding is that you guys have an agreement. Here's who I am. Here's who they are as a customer. Here's how we're going to work together to get you guys the results that you want to see. Again, that's not going to be everybody. There are people and there are customers that I meet with that I just say, honestly, for what you guys are expecting, what you guys need, I'm not that guy. That's not the things that I specialize in. It's not the way that I communicate. It's not my personality. But you know what? Let me get you in touch with somebody that does. I know somebody I think that's actually going to be a great fit for you, that would be able to do a better job for you. Let me go ahead and refer you out to that person. I would love the opportunity to work with you, but I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I don't want to just say yes to say yes. I want to make sure you guys are getting the service that you guys deserve. And that's how I do a handoff sometimes. If my personality, if who I am isn't going to work with them, I get them in touch with somebody that it is. I still want that customer to get service, even if it's not me. You guys have to be okay with this. You guys can't be afraid to say no. If you're in business of just taking anything that comes your guys' way, you're never going to grow. You're never going to get better at your job because you guys are just taking everything. Ultimately, I really do believe it's going to probably cause you to have a little bit of disdain for your job. You're not going to enjoy your career because you're working with a lot of people that you don't want to work with or you shouldn't work with, and you're not leaving any room for things to come into your business and your career that you enjoy and allow you to get better at it. So hopefully this was of value to you guys. It's major, guys. I know that you guys have probably heard it a couple times before, but this is one of these core things that I want you guys to understand when it comes into business and customer service. Is it's not a one-way street. It's not they have to hire you or nothing. It's, you want to make sure that your clients and your customers are a great fit for you guys too. So it's a great partnership. And at the end of that transaction or the end of you guys doing business, you guys are both extremely satisfied on both sides of that spectrum. And if that other customer is not happy with your service and you didn't deliver, you guys need to take accountability, reevaluate. Was it me? Did I mess up? Did I drop the ball? What could I have done better? Was the customer's expectations unrealistic? Did I take on somebody that I probably shouldn't have taken on? Did I take on a customer that needed something that I didn't offer and I actually wasn't the right person for that and I just told them yes? Questions to ask yourselves after every transaction. That's how you guys are going to get better day by day. That's how every new transaction moving forward gets better and better and better. So thanks so much for listening today. As always, guys, I do this for free. I love to add value. I try to help people underneath. I kind of always carry the concept, a rising sea raises all ships. So I want everybody to win. I want everybody to succeed. There's so many new people getting into business and I love it. I love you guys that are jumping into being an entrepreneur. It's tough, it's hard, it's challenging, but it's also extremely rewarding. All I ever ask you guys is if you get value of this, if this was helpful, just share it. That's it. Spread the word for me. If you guys know somebody that could hear this, if it was, something that would be of benefit from them, maybe you guys know somebody in business right now that's struggling with challenging customers out there, or they're struggling really trying to identify and dial in their business on who their customer is going to be, share it with them. Maybe this will be helpful for them. So as always, guys, hopefully you guys have a crazy productive week. Let's get out there. Let's set some goals and smash them. Let's crush it, guys.